Welcome to the Rocky and Meisty Show, everyone. Super Bowl 56 is upon us, or in 2 weeks at least. But the championship round is in the books. We had some crazy championship games. Like the odds of the games being good were not very high because we had such a crazy divisional round. But they were good. They were great games. Came down to the last play. Both ended in 3-point differences between the two teams. So obviously, it's very exciting. We're going to get into all of that. First, remember to check out juicestool.com and the new merchandise they have up there. It's very cool. You know, they're getting some orders there. It's getting hot. It's getting hot. You're going to want to hop on the train. I'm telling you right now. And remember to subscribe. What do you say?
Free shipping. I already got mine. Free shipping.
Free shipping. 1 out of every 10 orders, someone will be picked randomly to get a free merch. So that could be you. You never know. The only way you're going to have a chance of doing that is if you go ahead and grab one. So go onto the site right now, juicestool.com, JEWSTOOL.com. Remember to subscribe to the podcast on your preferred platform and follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Okay, guys, let's go. So anyway, Meisty, credit where credit is due. 35-30 Bengals. You had the Bengals winning this game. We all had the Chiefs winning this game. And the Cincinatti Bengals are going to the Super Bowl. That's actually happening. That is a thing that is actually happening. The first time since 1988, Joe Burrow will attempt to become the 4th quarterback named Joe to win a Super Bowl in NFL history. Micey, how are you feeling about your Bengals pick over here, riding the Bengals?
The game ended. I said to my brother before the game, so I want you to know I'm going to enjoy Joe Burrow going to the Super Bowl. And I had to buy a Joe Burrow jersey and everything. So we're ready. We're getting ready. We're going to be in Cincinnati, hopefully. We're going to go to Cincy. And now we're going to celebrate the Super Bowl win. We're going to get the day off of school tomorrow, the next day. We're ready for this victory. But let's first talk about what they did.
So let's talk about it. We'll have a lot of time to obviously break down the Super Bowl, have a preview. We'll have a couple other interesting segments that we'll get to later, discuss exactly what we're going to do. We have some fun stuff planned for you. But anyway, it was an interesting game because you had this similar dynamic to the first game in Week 17. Bengals went down early. Chiefs looked unstoppable in the first half, and they just stopped scoring. It was sort of the Aaron Rodgers effect last week, right, where we saw Meisty mention, right? After the first 2 drives, sort of Aaron Rodgers getting going. First drive, just marched right down, scored touchdown. Second drive, right to the 40-yard line, then the fumble happened. And all of a sudden, Rodgers just couldn't get anything going offensively. And that's what happened with Patrick Mahomes last week. It just stopped. Second half came, it stopped. And some big turning points in this game, namely end of the first half, couldn't get the ball in the end zone. We'll get to that. But you had first just your thoughts on the Bengals 2 straight times able to come back against the Chiefs, and the Chiefs just completely stalling in the second half.
I couldn't believe it when it happened in the regular season, but at least I was like, the one thing that I could use to rationalize that was, okay, it was in Cincinnati. Maybe the Chiefs, as I have been saying, they don't try so hard in the regular season. They don't care about the 1 or 2 seeds. So whatever, if they lose this game in Cincinnati, they lost by a field goal, doesn't matter. Next time they're going to play them, they're going to be in Cincinnati, they're going to be in KC, and they'll whoop them. And then the game starts off like that. They're whooping them again. And then the Chiefs get a little greedy. They got a little arrogant, I think, when they tried to throw to Tyreek Hill right before the first half ended. And I don't think that was the wrong play, going for the touchdown, but I think it's the wrong play to not throw into the end zone, because
Do you blame Mahomes for that last second half?
100% blame Mahomes. That is a brain fart and a big mistake. You have to throw to the end zone. If you don't throw to the end zone, whatever, you'll have 2 seconds left, and at least you can get a field goal. I like the aggressiveness of going for the touchdown, but you cannot. So I know it's Tyreek Hill, and I know he can make something in space, but the red zone just closes everything and just shrinks it, doesn't let him move around. And Eli Apple, of all people, makes that tackle. And you could see I was sitting there at halftime. We were all sitting through that awful CBS halftime show.
Oh man, thank God I got to skip the halftime show.
Yeah,
I heard about that.
But I'm sitting through that, and I'm trying to, seeing if I'm able to hear anything, trying to stay sane. But I'm like, as someone who picked the Chiefs, I was like, I don't want that to be a turning point for the game, but I just have this feeling that seemed like a turning point. And I don't know what was going on with Mahomes. And then because if they score right there, I think they go up like 28-10, and then they get the ball back. Second possession.
Well, good. Oh, I know that ad.
It keeps coming out. My ads, they keep getting me. But they would be up 28-10. And then they get the ball second
Windows,
half.
Microsoft.
Yeah. Oh, that's working. The ad's working. They go up. Okay. They go up 28-10. They get the ball back at the beginning of the third quarter, and then they score again, 35-10. Game over. Even Tom Brady couldn't come back from that. But it doesn't happen. They stop him right there at the end of the first half, and then it's only 21-10, and then they stop him on a 3-and-out or of the like at the beginning of the third quarter. And then the tide just turned right there, and Joe Burrow made some amazing plays, escaping sacks. We were discussing about how much pressure he was under he was under less pressure in the Titans games, but he was getting sacked. This game, he was under a lot of pressure, but he was just making miraculous plays and getting out of these sacks. And it was just insane. And I, as they're coming back, I was like, I did not give the Bengals enough credit. And I will definitely eat those words, as Meisty is going to make me eat those words every day until the Super Bowl. The Chiefs have no chance. The Bengals have no chance. And now they're in the Super Bowl. The Cincinnati Bengals are in the Super Bowl. It's crazy. I can't believe it's happening in my lifetime. They don't win a playoff game in 33 years, and then they go all the way to the Super Bowl. It's just insane. Absolutely.
17 pressures for the Chiefs in the game yesterday, and they had 13 against the Titans last week. So you were correct, Yehuda. There he was under pressure more, and one sack. One sack to show for it. Like, Burrow was making plays with his legs. It's crazy. And you know what's funny? We criticized him. It's ironic because we criticized him for the fact that he holds the ball too long. Yeah. He sort of got the ball out quicker, but also when he did hold the ball too long, was able to escape some crazy situations where Chris Jones was literally hanging on his back. And the man he converted 2 or 3 key third downs with his legs when he could have easily been sacked for a 5-10 yard loss. Instead converted that. And that was the turning point in the game. The fact that he was able to convert those 3 third downs with his legs. Chiefs could have turned it into negative play. Instead, he turned it into a positive play to move the chains. And Burrow just came clutch in this game. He didn't have a great game overall, but some clutch plays, some nice throws to Jamar Chase when it mattered most. Some nice plays with his legs. And, that's why they call him Joe Cool. It's not always pretty. It hasn't been for him in the postseason. He hasn't been this great quarterback in the postseason, but he's made the plays when he's needed to. And he's obviously rode that defense that deserves a lot of credit. Second half, right? What they were able to do to hold the Chiefs to only 3 points. Not only hold the Chiefs to only 3 points, it was a stalemate. Like, we don't even know what happened. Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, no one's getting going all of a sudden. And, they sort of drop one guy back into zone, right? Like, you tell the Chiefs, this is what's happened throughout the season. We're going to drop 2 safeties back there, and we're going to dare you to throw it underneath. You know what Patrick Mahomes says? No problem, buddy. I'm going to throw it underneath because I have this guy named Tyreek Hill who can outrun the entire defense, even if he catches the ball 5-10 yards down the field. Yeah. Then the Bengals started to pull one guy back into the zone, and then it started to give him a little trouble. And they didn't have the underneath stuff anymore because one guy was a little more shallow. So they sort of took away the deep play, right? They took away the underneath stuff to a certain extent, at least, so they can't take it away completely. And Mahomes had trouble adjusting to it as well. Meisty, what do you think about that play, the last play of the second half? Like, do you blame Mahomes for that, just to throw behind this line of scrimmage to Tyreek Hill?
Do you know what Tyreek Hill's over-under yards was for the game?
Let's hear it.
80.5. He had 78 in the first half.
The first half.
Mind you, if he makes that 3-yard play, he covers his yards.
Oh, that's a good one.
Isn't it crazy? Like, they stopped him. You have to understand. I had that. I had the over. At halftime was thinking money in the back pocket, cash money. But that play was a big turning point, and Yehuda touched on it already. Also it comes down to the defense stepped up, obviously major. The coaching, it was a real coaching job. You saw it in the coaching staff. You saw it. Obviously, Joe Burrow was, next level. But other than that, it was really one of those games that was just unexpected. Not one thing. Like, you expected the first half to go as was, and you're like, all right. And then the Bengals, that touchdown, to make it 10, that was huge. And then, and you're like, all right, well, he put too much time left, and then they just didn't score. Yep. And then overtime, coin toss, call heads. Everyone's like, you got to call heads. Heads is called, tails is the win. And you're like, oh, the Chiefs are going to do it again. And then they stopped them. And then, so it's very exciting, very exciting. Even though, like, I hate the Bengals, obviously, they're division rivals, but, like, I hate the Chiefs. Like, the Chiefs are the team to beat. It's like when Tom Brady, like, I didn't have anything against Tom Brady other than the fact that he just kept beating us. But, you know, whenever Tom Brady failed, you're like, yeah. But, like, why should we not root for Tom Brady? And now the Chiefs are the team that everyone needs to beat. So the fact that they're beat is very exciting. The Bengals probably won't win next week, or 2 weeks, but let's hope they do. Let's go Bengals.
Listen, that's another thing you want to talk about coaching. I think if I remember correctly, I think Andy Reid blew a timeout in the first half that was unnecessary, or they had to use it. Yeah, they used the timeout and then challenged the play instead of just challenging the play when there was
that doesn't matter. You can call a timeout and then on the timeout challenge it.
No, I believe they lost the timeout from that.
No,
you could potentially burn 2 timeouts. You could potentially burn 2 timeouts.
Oh, the NFL rule is you cannot burn 2 timeouts.
No, I know. I'm saying I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the fact that they handed the ball to the fullback and they got the 1-yard gain, but the refs did an awful spot, so they called it 4th down. But Andy Reid challenges it instead of just challenging it. He calls a timeout. Yeah, and I mean we're discussing about if there's potential penalties, but not even that timeout cost them a field goal, because if they would have had that timeout at the end, then you can throw the pass to Tyreek Hill, he gets tackled, whatever, you have 1 second left. So just little things here and there, but it all adds up because
the refs are horrible. Can we all just agree? If anyone watches any replays,
I love the job the refs did. They let him play. Yeah, I loved it.
I disagree with you.
Rocky, hold on. Let me get it. There's a difference between letting him play and not calling the right. A false start needs to be called. Illegal formation needs to be called. Illegal men downfield. I saw a screen play where before Joe Burrow threw the ball, there was a lineman probably about 6 or 7 yards down the field. I'm like, no one's gonna.
I can't speak.
I understand, but letting them play is when the receiver and the cornerback are kind of nudging at each other. Let him play.
That's what we were talking about. Yeah.
A big hit. The big hit. They picked up the flags. Right? They're like, oh, it's a big hit. It's a championship game. Of course, there's big hits. What is this? It's football. Clean hits. At least they're clean. They picked up the flags. So on those things, yeah. But when it comes to false starts and you try to get all the holdings as much as you can, because holdings can change. You're talking about game-changing plays need to be called.
I can't speak to each individual play. I didn't watch the replay of the game. I watched a little of the game here and there, but I didn't watch a replay to the entire game. But I'm sure that was just 1 or 2 instances. I know in a lot of these, there's a little grabbing, a little tugging down the field for, let go of the passing interference. Don't call it. You don't want to let referees decide the game, and referees themselves don't want to decide the game. They want to play on the field, especially as fans and as referees. Right. You want to play on the field to decide the outcome of the game. I think we can all agree on that. So there's nothing wrong with letting them play a little. Could be they missed 1 or 2 calls. I'm not sure. I can't attest to that, but
that's the whole point I just gave. The whole point of the referee letting play
the false starts.
And false starts and holdings.
Okay, fine. So I'm saying maybe they missed 1 or 2 plays, but overall, I don't necessarily think they did such a bad job. First of all, I heard that crew is known to let them play a little more, which is why they let them ref in these championship and Super Bowl games. That's what I've heard. I'm not an expert. Yehuda, to your coaching point, another interesting coaching thing, Andy, I want to hear your guys' opinion on this because it's interesting. The Chiefs' strength this year has been the run game because they've had the underneath passing. Patrick Mahomes over 4,500 yards, passing through the air. Of course, numbers a little swayed, but obviously you have that. But they've sort of constructed, right? They saw what happened last year in the Super Bowl. They got the offensive line of the Chiefs got demolished by the Bucs front seven, and the Chiefs made it an offseason absolute priority to protect Patrick Mahomes for the 2021 season. And what happened was, in doing so, they actually developed into one of the best run blocking units in the league. So it was an interesting phenomenon. And the Chiefs were averaging nearly 6 yards a carry when they were running the ball in this game, but it was few and far in between, even when they did go up ahead. I'm not saying to get conservative every time you go ahead. People have that, to run out the clock, this, that. I'm not saying to do that, but when the strength of your team has been to running the ball, and you've had success even against the Bengals in that game, you had success in the whole playoff run. Whenever you've done it, you've had success doing it. I think maybe the Chiefs should have leaned a little more toward the run game, Yehuda. That's what I think. I'm going to look up right now, but yeah, I want to know your thoughts on that. I want to look up the exact numbers on that.
That was something that I was going to mention. I'm glad that you mentioned. It's a great point. I was going to mention the best way to beat dropping 8, which the Bengals started doing. They're only rushing 3 and dropping 8, and they cover all the zones. They cover the flats, like you said. Tyreek can't run around the short stuff, and then they have the too high, so they can't run the deep stuff. Is run the ball. You have 3 guys up front. You have mostly dime nickel packages with lighter guys. You run the ball and you run it down their throat. That's how you beat this coverage defenses. And they were running. They had 5.8 yards per carry. Jerick McKinnon was running for 5.4 yards per carry. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I didn't even realize, but he had 6 yards a carry. He was running really well, and they, not that they gave up on it, but they went straight to their bread and butter. They went straight to the Mahomes has to throw it to win it. But they definitely should have been running the ball a lot more. They were winning on the ground. The Bengals run defense isn't that strong, like you said. They have a really good run block win rate. I'm looking up right now. They're top 3. Tied with the Eagles, who are the best rushing team in the league, 74% run block win rate during the regular season. Like you said, it's just strength, and people don't even talk about that. And that is 100% how you beat them. And something that gets overlooked as well was Joe Burrow threw an interception the first play, right? He threw an out route with L'Jarius Sneed made a great pick on covering Chase, and then they just go 3 and out right away at the beginning of the fourth quarter, and they get no points. They have to punt it away. And they went, they went handoff, pass, sack. And
I was also looking at the play-by-play. I wanted to see how many times they ran the ball in the second half. I think if you take away Mahomes scrambles, about 9 times in the second half. But
that's too few. You gotta beat a defense that's playing the pass. They're daring you to run. And this, we've said the Chiefs have been 4 straight AFC championships. So if you're going to find a little weakness, going to be weakness. We've known that the run game was the weakness, and they don't have like a banger in the backfield who's going to run for them. Clyde Edwards-Helaire hasn't really worked out. He's been a little injured.
That's mine.
Okay, yeah, we're all talking. He's been injured. He's not been super consistent for them, but they found Jerick McKinnon, a guy who they're able to throw these dump offs in the pass, in the flats too. But he's been able to run well. He's running 5.8 yards per carry. You've got to lean on him a little more, and they just didn't. So that and playoff Andy Reid coming back a little bit, but I think that for the Bengals also, Jamar Chase gets all the headlines, but T. Higgins actually absolutely stepped up, and Tony Romo was talking about it in the broadcast. The Chiefs gave up 266 yards to Jamar Chase last time they played, so they're going to make concerted effort not to let him beat them. And he did catch a touchdown on them. Like he's an amazing player. He's an amazing receiver. He's only going to get better. It's crazy. He's a rookie. He's going to be so good. And his connection with Burrow is going to be insane. But it's already insane. But they're gonna double him, and they're gonna take away those deep balls as best as they could. So T. Higgins had to step up, and I just saw him making these contested catches, these quick slants, and these routes at the sticks where he's just making incredible snags out of the air, and that are getting the first downs, moving the chains, and just
like glue on his hands.
Absolutely, yeah, exactly. Humongous catches, and he finished with more yards than Chase. He had 100 yards, and he had that big play. So I think T. Higgins had to step up, and he really did. And Chase is, like I said, he's going to get all the headlines, but T. Higgins is the 1B to Jamar Chase's 1A, and he really stepped up to help them win the game.
Yeah, I think there's another interesting thing when you look at this game. Mahomes had an incredible on his foot, so he was pressured, less than Burrow, obviously, right? Under duress, a lot less. We got to give credit to the Bengals defense. The secondary did a great job, But, pass rush wasn't great. It was sort of like middle of the line, did a good job. Sometimes pressured him in some clutch situations. But at the end of the day, when you saw those 4 sacks, on those 4 sacks, he had 9 seconds from snap to sack. 9 seconds on average, Meisty. Do you know what 9 seconds in the NFL is? That is an eternity and a half is what it is, okay? We're talking about the fastest game that I've ever seen, probably in professional sports, right? It's such a fast game, and 9 seconds is an eternity. And Mahomes is just, shake and bake, running around, just having fun like he's playing in the backyard, literally. And eventually got sacked like nobody's open. And those were 4 coverage sacks. I don't remember all of them. I think 3 of them I remember were absolute coverage sacks. And you got to give credit to this Bengals secondary, even though on paper it looked like the front seven's what came through. It was a secondary, and they invested a lot into this. The Bengals did a great job over the offseason developing that defense, re-signing Hendrickson when people, he backed up a career year with an even better career year, right? People didn't necessarily think he would have the year that he did this year. Was an incredible player for them, added some pieces in the secondary. They did an absolutely great job, the Bengals did. And remember what we mentioned before the season, the whole conversation, again? Come on, man.
It doesn't stop.
Whole conversation before the season, should the Bengals have went offensive line over Jamar Chase, right? Penei Sewell. Should they gone him over Jamar Chase? We were going back and forth. I'm like, listen, playmakers, that's what wins. And PFF makes this point all the time, and they were spot on with the Bengals. At the end of the day, you don't need to have a fantastic offensive line to win in the league. You need to creep back toward average. That's what you need to do. But if you want to win, you need to have great playmakers. That's for sure, right? We've seen that with the Chiefs, with the Bucks, all these teams that have won the Super Bowls. They have great playmakers. And instead, the Bengals went with the playmakers. The Bengals now have T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd. That's what's been getting them here. And the offensive line is like bend but don't break, right? I mean, you might have talked about it. They haven't been so bad. They haven't been great, but they crept back toward average. And that's what saved the Bengals this season, Yehuda. That's what's been it. They didn't need to have a spectacular offensive line. Get the playmaker, sign a couple guys for lower contracts, and creep back toward average, man.
Listen, football is the ultimate team game, and I'm glad. That's why I love it so much. Obviously, the quarterback gets all the headlines, the big play, the receivers and whatnot. Like the playmakers, they get most of the looks, and that's what they're going to advertise. But it is the ultimate team game, like you said. I don't think the Bengals O-line played well against the Titans. I think they gave up quite a few sacks, but they did just enough. The defense kept them in the game, and they're just a peaking team right now. Like Micey said, they're the hottest team in the playoffs right now, and they're all just playing well together. Special teams is awesome. The offense making just enough plays with this average, creeping back towards average O-line. Defense is stepping up when they need to. They're getting picks on Patrick Mahomes, multiple picks against Tannehill, interception to win the game against the Raiders. We forget all the way 3 weeks ago, that was the first playoff game, but they've just been stepping up. This team is just playing well right now. Obviously, all the headlines go to Burrow and Joe Shiesty and his Joe Swag. So he's pretty swagalicious, but it's an ultimate team game, and this team is really coming together right now, and they're playing really, really well.
Another quick thing. I know that we're saying a lot of these facts, but at the end of the day, there was a lot of they had to chase him down, and those are not guys that are, their job is not to chase down that much. Like, they're supposed to chase down the quarterback, but not like that. Not every play. 3 guys, no other guys. Everyone's double teamed practically, and so you're just trying to. And the fact is that they did get sacks is incredible.
Yeah, by the way, that last interception, okay? A lot of people might give credit to Von Bell, but Jesse Bates, the play he made on Tyreek Hill, go and watch that a couple times. I mean, the man is neck and neck with Tyreek Hill, the fastest receiver in football, all the way down to the 40, 35-yard line, and knocks that ball up for Von Bell to grab. And that was a difference maker right there. That was huge. I don't think it was the worst decision by Mahomes. I think there were a couple decisions probably earlier in the game that were probably a little worse, but that was huge, guys. Like you mentioned, Yehuda, this Bengals defense came up with just 3 absolutely crucial interceptions in these 3 playoff games, and that makes a difference, right? It's the defense. Who would have thought the Bengals would be in the Super Bowl, and the reason would be the defense coming up with some big plays. One more point I wanted to bring up was the coin toss, right? Everyone's like, oh, the coin toss, Chiefs get this coin toss, the game's over. And Yehuda made the point to which we concurred that it feels different. It didn't like right when the Chiefs won the coin toss. It just felt different. You didn't feel the Chiefs were going to march down the field, maybe get a field goal, but you didn't feel they were going to march down the field and effortlessly score, right? You got to remember in that Bills-Chiefs game, teams were going back and forth. For 2 minutes, just 25 points scored. It was nuts. And defenses were gassed. But this was completely different, Yehuda. And we all made that point. That was a great point by you, Yehuda, I got to say.
Just play defense. That's why you can't change the overtime rules. I said this before. I keep saying it over and over. I'm a broken record. The one thing I can't.
It's a good point to say it again.
Yeah, is if you want, do 2 possessions for both teams. If the first team scores a touchdown, then the other team has to score a touchdown, and then it becomes sudden death. But if the first team doesn't score, if they score a field goal, then then it's sudden death again. But you can't play a full quarter. It's not fair to these guys. They're going to be gassed for next week. It's not fair. It's not safe. I think it opens up the risk for injuries, and I don't think it actually provides the best football. I think you're going to start to see some tired gassed guys, and it's not going to be the best product. So I think this system that you have, if you want to stop them, play some defense, get an interception like they did, and go win the game. Like the Bengals did what the Bills couldn't, and which is so crazy to think about, that the Bills had the best defense. They have a much better offense. I think a better quarterback. I mean, Joe Burrow is rising, but I think right now the Bills still have a better quarterback, and they couldn't get it done. And Mahomes, right? The credit to the Bengals. They made Mahomes look mortal, and they made the plays against him. And unfortunately, I did win $1 on that, but I lost some more money on the Chiefs losing. But I knew
you are raking it in.
Yeah, I could. Yeah, a whole $1. But we all had that feeling. They were not scoring.
It didn't feel the same.
He almost gave the game away right in the play before when he was running around. You want to talk about?
That was a worst throw. By the way, this was the worst of the 3 throws that Mahomes threw in overtime. This was the least bad, if you want to call it, right? The one that actually got intercepted wasn't even such a bad throw. The first 2 where you completely overthrew Tyreek Hill on the first play, and then the second play could have been intercepted. We'll obviously get to some dropped interceptions soon, but so that we'll get to. One more thing is Tony Romo taking shots at himself late in that game when it went went right over everyone's head. That was pretty fantastic. All right, Micey liked it. Micey liked it.
Right here, you gotta kick the field goal, Jim.
Yeah. Dropping the ball. So I know a quarterback who's done that.
I know a quarterback. I walked into work today, and my coworker said, "I hope you heard that." And I said, "Oh yeah."
I missed it. Rocky informed me. I missed it.
Yeah, I posted it on Twitter. I got a lot of views, guys, and I think it went over a lot of people's heads, but that was pretty good. I love Tony Romo taking a shot at himself. Listen, he sucked up to it. Good for him. All right, so I think we'll wrap up the AFC Championship game with that. All right, guys, NFC Championship game. Second straight year that there will be a team playing in their own stadium in the Super Bowl, and this time it will be the LA Rams. This was interesting because you had the Niners had Sean McVay's number 6 straight times that Shanahan went against McVay. Shanahan bested them. And finally, here in the biggest stage, the biggest possible stage these two teams can play against each other in the NFC Championship game, it was the Rams that trailed early, 17-7, and came back and got the victory. And the interesting thing here is that, the Niners defense played well, but, Stafford actually did a lot of good things in this game, played great. The roller coaster ride of Matthew Stafford was on display in the NFC Championship game because he had a great game overall, really efficient, throwing the football, really had to move the ball down the field a lot. I know they only had 7 points to show for it in the first half, but they really did move the ball down the field a lot. There was a couple turnovers, there was a couple freak things that happened in there that per se won't show on the box score, and you probably think, Stafford didn't play so well, but he did. He played great, but then he chucked the ball to the free safety with under 10 minutes to go, which could have cost them the game. So that's the roller coaster ride of Matthew Stafford, right? The Rams bring this man in the beginning of the season. They trade a lot away. It's all in, baby. It's Von Miller. It's Matt Stafford. It's OBJ. We're going all in for this year. And what happens? Everyone's like, well, we had a lot of split opinions. Some people were like, Stafford, this is it. He's going to hook up with Sean McVay. All he needs is a good quarterback like Matt Stafford. He's going to bring him to the promised land. Other guys were like, Stafford is what he is. Yes, wasn't that great in Detroit? Like, there's a reason he never won a playoff game in Detroit. So, all of a sudden you think he's going to come in and magically, he's going to be this Hall of Fame quarterback. And it's sort of been somewhere in between, right? We've seen a lot of different versions of Stafford this year. But in the playoffs, he's played well. A couple bad mistakes in there, like Stafford does, but he's played very well. He's put this team in a position to win the Super Bowl now. Guys, it's paying dividends for the Rams. It's paying dividends, but you need one more game, Meisty. We said, Yehuda disagreed. He didn't say Super Bowl bust. Meisty, we said Super Bowl or bust. The Rams can lose it all if they lose on February 13th. February 13th in La La Land. If they don't win that game, it's all for naught, Meisty. No? All for naught.
All for naught. But Yehuda's also correct where they can come back. They can come back next year and do the same thing. But this year is a Super Bowl or bust year. If they don't win, it's a bust. If they win, it's not a bust. The bottom line is Jared Goff was in the same game as Matthew Stafford.
Exactly.
Right? It's not about getting to the game. Joe Burrow, at the end of the day, if he doesn't win, we're not going to talk about it. I mean, it'd be cool if Joe Burrow made the Super Bowl, but Jimmy Garoppolo also made the Super Bowl. No, but after the 3:00 game was very exciting. To watch that game was much slower game. It was very tough to watch. I had to have the double screen. I had to make sure I had to be multitasking. It was tough. But the Rams, I did not think they would do what they did, nor did I think the Bengals would, but that's the obvious. No one did. Obviously there are people that thought the Rams would get where they are. I did not. So to me, I'm impressed, but at the same time, Jared Goff got here too. So it's a Sean McVay thing. And now it just comes down to, can Matthew Stafford finish the job? And we talked about this before the game. You can lose 30 straight games to somebody. At the end of the day, if it's in the playoffs and you beat them, all those regular season 30 games means zero. You beat them in the playoffs. This is the game that matters. And the 49ers just didn't show. And the best part is we were all talking to each other. And we were like, well, did Jimmy Garoppolo make his fourth quarter mistake yet? Oh, so it's going to happen here? And then it happened. Of course it happened. And Matthew Stafford already made his mistake. So, he's good. And when you can sit here and say those things about a quarterback, and then it happens every single time, or most of the time, sometimes they come up this big clutch play, and then you realize it wasn't really them. It was like the guy made a nice move, and he's like wide open. But at that same time. But very impressed what the Rams were able to pull off. I mean, it was a good game, but not as good as the first one. But give it a lot of credit. It was a battle of coaching, a battle of quarterbacks, a battle of rivals, you can call them, and the better team came out on top.
Yeah, I mean, like we were, as we were having our watch party for the NFC Championship game, we were saying the entire time, we knew it was going to be slow, methodical game. Both teams couldn't run the ball. Both teams have very good run defenses. Both teams, the Niners had 50 yards, the Rams had 70 yards. Not like the Rams are like a real run-heavy team, but they could not get the ball going on the ground. The team that is a run-heavy team, the Niners, could not get the ball going. That was more surprising. Elijah Mitchell didn't do much, and even Debo didn't run super well on the ground. He did have no, he didn't have rush.
26 yards and 7 carries.
Yeah, he was a screen on, which was that was an amazing play. Takes the screen to the house. That was awesome. That's why Debo is Debo, and it was obviously very tough to see him, after the game, super emotional because he poured his heart and soul into it, and he absolutely broke out this season. But the thing that was amazing though was to see Cooper Kupp show the emotion. You don't usually see him. He caught 2 touchdowns, catch the ball, hands it to the ref, nothing. But when he caught that deep ball to get them into field goal range, you could see that the primal scream that he was so pumped, able to do that. It was an amazing throw and an awesome catch by Cooper Kupp. And even in the moment though, when Jimmy G got the ball back with minutes some left, I said, this is where Jimmy G actually shows up. I'm not a Jimmy G believer, but I said this is where where he plays well. 146, no timeouts, and he's going to make something happen. He's going to hit some passes, but that Rams D-line, Aaron Donald, got in his face. They pressured him. I think I heard on 9 dropbacks in the fourth quarter, he got pressured on 7 of them. So wow. They were just in his face, and he's already, we know how good he is when he's not under pressure. And then when he is under pressure, he it's just poor decisions all around. And I don't necessarily think that last play was a poor decision. I think you can't take a sack there.
She's at the line of scrimmage. She checks the play
No.
sheet, goes for two.
That's not me, is it?
Go for two.
That last play wasn't per se a poor decision. You could have looked to a lot of other. Let's talk about that last play for a second. You could look at it in two ways, right? Like he was falling down. It's third and whatever it is. So you don't want to take a loss. It was second down. It would have been third. Was that third down or second down?
That was on third down. He was trying to flip it away. It was 3rd and 13. If he flips it away, throws it out of bounds, it's 4th and 13, and they'd have 1:10 left. So
right, and Cam Akers was right in front of him. Right, I mean not right in front of him. He was a good 5 yards away from him.
Hasty.
So you're trying. I mean, what's his name? Hasty was right in front, 5 yards in front of him. So you're trying to throw the ball to him, and it's not the easiest throw. He sort of backhanded it. It shouldn't have been intercepted. It just wasn't necessarily the best decision, but yeah, I don't think that's where he threw the game away, per se.
Yeah, but I mean, I've heard arguments saying that, you got to at least have a chance with the ball. Just throw the ball away. I know Aaron Donald's right in your face. Throw the ball away, even if it's 4th and long, or take the sack, and then it'll be 4th and really long. But at least you have the ball. But I don't know if I can necessarily blame him for that, because it did hit Jermichael Hasty's hands when he's flipping it to him. But obviously it's a rush play. It's a broken play. But we knew, I expect him to come back. But when you see this quarterback who's shrinking in that moment, and the defense coming up big, that just makes all the Niners fans question their quarterback. And they have to give Jimmy G some credit. He did go to a Super Bowl for them. Can't just kick him out the door. I understand we've been talking
you could
stop about him. But they probably will. But
Ravens made a mistake. You can kick your guy out the door. It's not the quarterback. It's not any player. It's not one player. Unless he's, unless he's Jesus, he's not anything special.
Yeah,
right.
He's an average quarterback, but you got to acknowledge that he is one overthrow away from winning a Super Bowl for them, and I know that's his fault. But it's a team game, and obviously that they're limited at quarterback, and now it's time for Trey area. That's what I've heard. The Bay Area, it's Trey area now. But you want to talk about coaching, Rocky? If Sean McVay loses the game, if the Rams lose that game, Kyle Shanahan goes to Super Bowl, he would have been absolutely shredded for those challenges. Both of them were really poor challenges, cost his team 2 timeouts. And then, speaking of dropped interceptions, if DBs can catch, they play receiver. All Jaquiski Tartt has to do is catch that ball, run a few yards, and then they would have the ball with 9 minutes left. All they need is 3 or 4 first downs, and the game is over. The Rams had no timeouts in the 4th quarter already. That would have been, a meltdown coaching decision. And it seemed like Sean McVay was getting a little too antsy, a little too aggressive with those challenges. And that could have seriously cost them. He's very, very lucky. I mean, Stafford is very lucky, as we saw the good with the bad, but he bounced back from that. He was like, okay, I'll take the break, and then I'll just keep slinging it, making those throws to Cooper Kupp and bringing him down into field goal range. And then the defense finishes him off. But if not for that dropped interception, McVay could have had some serious questions. Like, how do you go into the 4th quarter with no timeouts? That was really questionable, but whatever, he's going to the Super Bowl, so it's all good.
Yeah. Hindsight's 2020, right? With that last interception, there's no doubt you're right about that. I mean, the fact that you lose we always talk about how the value of a timeout in the second half as opposed to the first half, obviously a lot more valuable. You have to relish those, and you have to actually, take delay of games at times if it's necessary. If it's not in crucial situations, assess the situation. If there's 5 seconds left in the clock and you see your team's not ready yet, maybe just take delay of game. It might not be necessarily worth it to surrender the timeout. But if you look at, just the quarterback versus quarterback matchup over here, yes, it's true. Stafford threw the ball to the opposing team and almost threw that game away. That was really his one bad throw of the game, though. I mean, maybe 1 or 2 bad throws in the game. He played great. He was a very efficient thrower. Passes 20 yards or more down the field. He was 8 for 15 for 140 yards and 2 touchdowns. So 10 yards or more down the field. He didn't throw that many passes, 20 yards or more. 10 yards or more down the field. 140 yards and 2 touchdowns. So he was an efficient thrower. And listen, the Niners did not blitz him so much because Stafford has been succeeding against the blitz this year. On his 48 dropbacks, they've blitzed him just 5 times. So even without the blitzing, which is where Stafford has thrived, he was still able to thrive and march the ball down the field on numerous occasions in this game, really put the Rams offense on his back. Like you said, got the ball to Cooper Kupp, who had, a lot of receiving yards, a lot of yards after catch, and let his playmakers do his thing. On the other side, Jimmy G, you're right. I don't necessarily know if that last play was his fault, but it was not a good game for Jimmy G. He was not playing well the entire game. He tried to sling a couple other passes to the defense that didn't get there, but he tried. It got through, but but he tried before, and he's been trying the whole postseason, and it's just been a bad postseason for Jimmy G. I mean, I've never seen a guy that got this far in the playoffs and was on the cusp of making a Super Bowl to this extent that played so bad in the playoffs. And, for all his faults in the Cowboys game, he didn't play so bad in that game. That last quarter was just awful. And then he was just awful in the Packers game. And he was awful again in this game. And the man he's gone. Bye-bye. Like, if you're San Francisco, you're looking at this, you're like, get out of here, man. Like, I know we made the Super Bowl with you, but we just traded picks to trade up and get Trey Lance, get our future quarterback who has more upside than you. And now all of a sudden you become this mistake-prone quarterback. Like, you weren't supposed to be that before. You were supposed to be this guy who's average to above average, that gets the job done, that has experience, that makes the easy throws, and doesn't put the ball in harm's way. But he hasn't been that this year, and in particular, he hasn't been that this year in the playoffs. But anyway, my Jimmy G criticism is long overdue. I'm just saying, the Niners, it's a no-brainer to me. It's a no-brainer. You've invested this much in Trey Lance. If you won the Super Bowl, even though I wouldn't agree with it, but if you won the Super Bowl, then you have a decision on your hands. But you have no decision you have no decision here. You have absolutely no decision, guys. I'm sorry. You got to let the man go.
Yeah, I mean, a QB needy team. I think Jimmy really hurt his trade value for the Niners. But a QB needy team like maybe the Steelers or the Saints is gonna be interested in him, and they could still maybe get a few picks for him, and they're gonna open up for Trey Lance. But we got to talk about the coaching also. Kyle Shanahan. He's making a habit. I mean, obviously we know 20-3. He wasn't the head coach, but he was the OC. But he's making a habit of these 10-point deficits where they're up 10. The Niners are winning 17-7, and he's blowing it. He's done it in the regular season against the Titans. He's done it in the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and it's just I don't know what's going on with Kyle Shanahan, but I don't know if he can ever get that 28-3 stench off of him. But now he's doing it as a head coach with these 10-point leads, and it's brutal. It's absolutely brutal.
I think he's getting a little conservative. I think he's a little scarred. He's a little traumatized from that 28.3. And you saw that 4th and 2 at the opposing 45-yard line, the Rams 45. And they didn't go for it. You have a chance to really put the hammer down over there. You get that first down, it's going to be you have a good chance to even get a touchdown, get a field goal. Really put the game, in your hands, give yourself a good chance to win. And instead, you just go for and not only that, by the way, Sean McVay called the challenge and gave Shanahan another 2 or 3 minutes to think it over, and he still didn't go for it. I mean, how conservative can you get, man? And by the way, do you remember, like, our last game of the season, it was Niners-Rams, and I know the fact that they tied, that could have changed it, but the Niners scored with under 40 seconds left, could have went for 2 and taken the lead, right? At which Harbaugh's done a bunch of times this year. And obviously we know that, teams aren't going to always do that. It's a very aggressive move. But Shanahan didn't even consider it. We talked about this when we discussed that game a few weeks ago, right? They just ran the field goal unit right onto the field. He is so conservative, and I think you're right, Yehuda. You brought up the 23 game. That was perfect, right on cue, because I honestly think he's scarred from that game, and he's been so conservative as a result, and running the ball maybe. And, even though they're a running team, but it just got to be a little more aggressive. 4th and 2, man. I mean, even if you give them the ball at the 45-yard, it's not the worst thing in the world. You punt to them to get at 20. Like, it really isn't the worst thing in the world. No, I mean, it bothers me.
Just he was taking a lot of field goals. I've heard some people saying, "Oh, anti-analytics because we're taking the field goal, we're taking points," but and then people are going to say, "Look what happens when you do analytics when you're the Chargers and you go for it at your own 18-yard line." Well, that's stupid. Like, you got to be smart with the analytics, but you got to be aggressive league. You got to. I mean, Sean McVay was aggressive for as bad as those challenges were. You shouldn't have done that. At least he's aggressive. He's just trying. He's going for it. It can cost you. Like, it didn't end up costing them, but it could have cost them if they didn't have any timeouts left. But you got to go for it. You got to at least you got to try. I understand that their defense playing well and they want to just punt it away and just let the defense come up with the stop. But you got to keep pushing that ball down the throat. You can't punt. I would never punt if it's 4th and short on, at the opponent's 40 or so. You just go for it. You're so creative with the run schemes, the run play. You got Kittle, Debo, Trent Williams is a fullback. You're running around. You can get 2 yards. You can. I don't know why you're punting away. He's definitely spooked. Like you said, he's definitely spooked for 2023.
Yeah, for good. He'll never get over that. That's for sure. I think that was, there's no question. You got to go for it there. I completely agree with you. There weren't necessarily many other opportunities for him to be aggressive, but in that one situation in the 4th quarter, you definitely go for it. Meisty, I want your take on this 4th and 2. Shanahan not going for it, being a little conservative here. He's what do you think? Why Shanahan so conservative? Why he's not going for it this year over here?
He doesn't trust Jimmy Garoppolo. That's the bottom line. The question is, why doesn't he take a guy like Trey Lance, who probably is a little bit more mobile, stick him in for the play, run the trick play, try to figure
now
something
you're talking my language.
I don't even think he has in the playbook a play for 4th down. Right. Even if it was it would be late in the game and you'd be like, oh, I got to go for this? Darn, how do I do this? I don't think they run it in practice.
But he had 3 minutes to talk about it. He had 3 minutes.
For real.
I don't like Jimmy Garoppolo don't walk over there asking him, why. Like you see sometimes guys like Lamar Jackson running, to John Harbaugh being like, Coach, let's go for it, Coach. Let's go for it. And yeah, let's go for it. And then like, oh, smart. Yeah, you're smart. Yeah, good. All right, let's go for it. So I don't know, why. You don't see that, but he doesn't trust his quarterback. He doesn't trust his offense. I don't know if that's his problem, his offensive problem, but the thing is, they're a very attractable team. They're very, everyone wants to play for. Who doesn't want to play for him? True. So I think that they can go out in the free agency. I think that Trey Lance, I don't think is the answer. So they're going to have to find somebody to take over. But no, maybe he is. Listen, I'm not saying I just don't know. I don't know. I don't think he is. He could be.
Me neither.
But I don't think he is. But I would like to see them maybe go out in free agency and find someone, or maybe take a division rival in Russell Wilson, and I don't know, figure someone out who can run the ball with Deebo Samuel and make big plays. I mean, they have big playmakers, so let's make big plays.
Yeah,
maybe we should talk about Jimmy G a little more this week. We got a couple weeks here. Maybe one of these podcasts spend a few minutes talking about Jimmy G, what the Niners should do with him. I think that's a good idea.
He has 1 year left on his contract, so we could see them. I would say probably to the chagrin of their fans. I mean, he's so polarizing for them, but could see them.
He's a nice guy.
Yeah, have Lance sitting for 1 more year, or come in for some plays like Meisty was saying, some trick plays, and just be involved. And Jimmy just there as like kind of a lame duck quarterback playing 1 more year until the Trey Lance can learn. But I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that, because Mahomes learned for a year and then he was awesome. Aaron Rodgers sat for 2.5, 3 years. So I can understand, especially someone's kind of raw, like we saw with Josh Allen coming out. He was awful his first year. He was not ready to play. There were some sparks and whatnot, but the Buffalo.
Trevor Lawrence this year.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence this year. Buffalo's a very patient organization, so they're going to let him build. And I feel like the Niners aren't the most patient. So, they should be patient in this situation, but they might give Jimmy a chance, might get rid of him. We'll see if they'll throw, if they want to throw Trey Lance in there, they can just have him go all OTAs all summer, just full playbook, go all in. And then they should probably get used to losing some games, and they'll probably not be a playoff team. I mean, they have a very good roster, but if Trey Lance is still going through that, then they have to understand that his upside is really high, but he's not ready necessarily to go to the playoffs, but it'll be a process. So we'll see what they decide to do. And they decide he's better off learning on the sideline or in game, but it's going to be very interesting offseason for the Niners.
You say these things, and I know it's a topic for a different discussion, but those guys sat behind Brett Favre, and Mahomes sat behind him. Smith, who was was a good quarterback,
Yeah.
Sitting behind, who'd you sit behind? Jimmy Garoppolo.
I know. That's true. That's true. But he did he sat behind Tom Brady, so maybe the transitive property.
I don't know if you know how if you make a copy of a copy, right? It only comes out so good. So
Listen, the bottom line is Joe Flacco sat behind Mike White, and that's why Joe Flacco was so good on the Ravens.
That's why he won the Super Bowl. Yeah.
Exactly.
We should actually this is a good topic. We should discuss this later in the week. Maybe next week we'll get to this. There's a lot to talk about here. Where the Niners should go with Jimmy G. What team should give him an opportunity, right? And also, should they trust Trey Lance? What should they do with him? Should they just go all in on Trey Lance? Maybe try to look for another veteran quarterback. We'll see. We'll see where the Niners go with that. We'll have to discuss that a little more as well. It's Super Bowl 56, guys, in 2 weeks in Los Angeles. Tickets are starting at $7,000, so we probably won't see you there. You won't see me there either. But all I know is that if the Rams are in a 4th and short situation, don't sneak with Matthew Stafford, and they'll be good to go. So we'll see you guys there in 2 weeks. Matthew Stafford, in the meantime, should probably attend the Tom Brady Tom Brady camp of quarterback sneaks. In the meantime, he'll have to get that going, guys.
Just to say that, I came running back just to say he must attend the Tom Brady School of Sneaks.
Yeah,
he's got to attend it. How nuts was I going? He's a bad sneaker. Don't sneak it. And they snuck it. And that's what happened. Anyway, hopefully it won't come in that situation for the Rams. What'd you say?
I said McVay should know better. Yeah.
McVay should know better. Hopefully it won't come into that situation for the Rams. Rams, Bengals, here we go, baby. Like I mentioned, Joe Burrow could be the 4th quarterback named Joe. You guys know this. To win a Super Bowl in NFL history. Joe Namath, Joe Montana, Joe Flacco, Joe Burrow. I don't think there's any other name that a quarterback has had that multiple people that have had the same name that have won a Super Bowl. I don't think any other player, and Joe can do it 4 times now. So Joe must be a lucky name.
Hold on, time out. There was Tom.
Well, there was Joe 4 times too. I'm just saying. Yeah. Anyway, guys. All right, guys, that'll do it. We'll have a top 5 Super Bowl players in the Super Bowl, all of our lists. We're going to do that later in the week. That's going to be awesome. Ooh, I hope we have some good disagreements here. I really hope we have some good disagreements here. We'll have some fun stuff coming up. Yeah, always, man. Next couple of weeks, we got the Pro Bowl. Maybe we'll hit the snubs. I don't know, maybe. But we got a lot of exciting stuff coming up. It's going to be a little different. We're going to have to get outside the box here because we got a couple weeks till the last game of the season. Guys, thank you for joining us for this championship review. It's been a pleasure. Remember to subscribe once again to our podcast and to our YouTube page. Everyone have a great day.